Hey, this is Stephen Amell, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends, the podcast. Don't fail your city.
You think you know the story. You've heard it 100 times. But this is not the tale that you know, for this part of the story has yet to be written. Join Flash, Harley, and X-Force 11 as they take the Waverider into the near future and check in on some old friends. This is the new adventures of Superman and Lois, as chronicled by Tomorrow's Legends.
Yes, hello, super fam of steel. Get out the Oscars, never mind the Emmys. This show deserves some recognition. In so many ways, the title of this episode, Always My Hero, strikes hard at our hearts and hits home. And that's just the beginning of our discussion tonight. I am a very emotional, fist-pumping, exuberant Flash in support of this show in all areas. I love it so much.
And I'm not sure how I could possibly ever one-up that, so I'm Harley Quinn.
And I'm charging up my ring because this world needs some help against Lex and Doomsday. I'm X-Force 11.
Plus, you just came back from a long journey across the galaxy looking for a cure, right? So
Yeah. Exactly. Trying to find a new heart.
yeah. Gideon, are you out there?
Yes, Captain.
Oh, nice. Nice that she's with you. All right, let's get on with the show. This is the Tomorrow's Legends, as you heard from the Cybercast Network. We are currently discussing Superman and Lois. It's going to be episode 3 of the final season called Always My Hero. And there's also Stargirl and Legends of Tomorrow and the Tomorrow People and X-Men 97 all on this network. Plus there's Dive into DC that covers everything DC related with the Silver Box and Green Butterfly. And I think they just released their Joker 2 review.
Yep, just dropped today.
So it'll be interesting to check that out. And then also the Penguin TV series is on their docket next. Mm-hmm. And then The Mandalore, the Star Wars show covering everything on Disney Plus. They are waiting, I guess I could say I am waiting, for the Skeleton Crew, but we have got an episode coming out soon about Star Wars Outlaws, the new open world game that came out.
Okay.
And we're going to do a couple other things. I think we're looking at possibly covering the 2 short seasons of Star Wars. What was it called? Resistance. Star Wars Resistance, which is a 2-season animated show that came after Rebels. So we're going to try to squeeze that in if we can.
Okay.
So yeah, lots to check out because it's been a long time. Mandalore has been kind of dead in the water for a while since the end of the last show. So let's get into some news. We got some news about Superman and Lois.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
So, our John Henry Irons, Will Parks, said the entire cast will return in the final episode of Superman and Lois.
Oh.
Everyone is in episode 10. I don't think that's a spoiler, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And so that comes from Screen Rant.
Cool.
So I'm assuming that doesn't mean Sam Lane, but I guess everybody else. Everybody living at that point.
Unless he was there for another flashback and he got to be there.
Could be. And then there was a pretty good interview with Michael Cudlitz and on Screen Rant as well, and talking about the final season and the finale. He says, I'm thrilled with where they went. I feel this season is, as someone who became a fan of the show, wonderfully wraps up the entire story that we're telling. An incredible amount of fan service is done to all the characters and the fans, so no one feels left out. Everyone has an incredibly satisfying arc and resolution in the show. Plus, it's an emotional arc for the entire series, not just individual characters. The family, as to where they go on the journey, he's talking about the Kents, and where the boys wind up in their relationship with their dad, mom, and everything else in the show. it's a really good. That's just a clip, but like he is just bragging on, being a part of the show and how well it closes everything out, and so that just makes me happy to hear him say that. So,
yeah, especially because he's like the newest member of this whole show too. Like, so it's nice that he's feeling that and has a really good good vibe for the show. That he's joined late, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty cool. All right. Well, something we haven't heard in a while. Here it is. Letters lost in the timeline. I mean, that's more of a Legends thing, but we did get a voicemail in from our friend Rick Marshall, who we haven't heard of from a while, talking about episode 1 and 2. Let's listen to hear what he had to say.
Hey guys, this is Rick from Orlando calling. I haven't talked with you in a while. Just wanted to give you some quick feedback on episodes 1 and 2 of Superman and Lois. Sorry I couldn't get this in sooner, but we had a bit of a hurricane down here in Florida to deal with, and it took me a while to actually get around to watching the episodes. I finally did get to see them last night. So I'll give you some quick feedback, even though I know I'm way past the deadline for this. Basically, I enjoyed the openers. I thought they were very well done. I thought the writing was good. I thought the special effects were outstanding. And I've heard some people lament the fact that the budget was cut for this year. But I thought that they did a really good job on the CGI. I really only had 3 nitpicks, one of which I think is fairly major, and the other 2 are kind of minor, but let me just tell you what those were. First of all, this whole emphasis on Superman's heart doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, Lara, Superman's mother, says that, well, we could bring him back to life, but we don't have his heart. And I'm thinking, what is the big deal about the heart? The heart is just a muscle that pumps blood. I mean, even on Earth, we have technology that will allow people to live without their real heart. We have artificial hearts. We have transplanted hearts. We can even keep people alive in a hospital on a machine with no heart inside their body. So are you telling me that Kryptonian technology does not have the ability to recreate someone's heart? I mean, that just didn't make any sense why Superman's heart is so important to bringing him back to life. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I just thought it was a dumb idea. I know how humans look at the heart as being the center of emotions and all that, but in reality, the heart is just a muscle, an organ that pumps blood. And Kryptonians would certainly know that, so that made no sense. I also thought that when Luthor finally stepped on what he said was the heart, and I realize it might not have been, that might have been just a fake out, but if that's really Superman's heart, it should be invulnerable. It should be pretty tough, even though he's been batted around by Doomsday. I can't believe that Luthor can just step on a heart and destroy it, basically. That part didn't make sense to me. And then the third nitpick, and I know what the answer will be to this, is that Jordan is just young. He didn't know any better. But when he's in the restaurant confronting Luthor, and Luthor's saying something like, what are you going to do, kill me? You're not going to do that in front of all these people. Of course he's not going to kill him. But what he could do is he could have just grabbed him, taken him up to the fortress, put him in some Kryptonian cell up there, turned him over to his mother to try to get information out of him. And I know, of course, the Kryptonians don't believe in killing, but they might have interrogation techniques. They might have a way of extracting information from a person. I would love to have seen Luthor just thrown into a cell up there and let Superman's mother deal with her. That was an opportunity that was missed. And I know you're going to say, well, Jordan's young. He didn't know any better. He got intimidated. And yeah, I get that. But I still would have loved to have seen a turn in the plot where Jordan just called his bluff and took him up there and threw him in that cell. And instead of Luthor sort of extorting them to turn over information so that he could release the heart, why not turn it around and have Jordan and company extort Luthor and say, and Luthor's friends would say, we're not going to let Luthor go until you release the heart. I mean, there's opportunities there that could have made this plot more interesting than just the bully Luthor getting his own way. I understand why they did that, but that bothered me. Those are my 3 nitpicks, but by and large, I thought it was an excellent opener, and I think the concept of killing off Superman in the final 10 episodes is a really good one. I like the fact that they did that, and it will be interesting to see how he comes back from that. Anyway, that's my feedback. Rick from Orlando, and I will talk to you again. Thanks.
Well, good to hear from you again, Rick. It has been a while. But let me see. Let me see if I can offer any ideas. I mean, you have good points, but I don't know if Kryptonian organs are indestructible, because Superman really only gets his power because of the yellow sun. If he was back home on Krypton, he wouldn't have any power. And I'm only imagining that just means his outer shell. Like, yeah, he's got his superpowers, but his invulnerability, I would think, is only the outer shell. I've never seen anywhere in the comics or the stories anything about his insides being, impervious to stuff. I don't know. That's just a guess for me. You guys got any thoughts on that part?
I mean, I know he heals. He can heal up, and we've seen that with Supergirl in her series as well, where they can heal up.
Yeah.
But, like, if it's not connected to the body and not, so I don't know that they necessarily, maybe they're a little tougher, but, maybe it is just the outer layer, and then if it was anything inside, it would just have to heal. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, my perfect counter to that, if you guys listened to mine and Jess's podcast last week, I don't think that's his heart anyway. It's a ruse.
I like this theory.
Yeah, me too.
Therefore, it is very squishable if it was a cow heart or whatever it may have been. Yeah, I don't think that was his heart, so we'll see on that. As for the technology at the fortress, I have a feeling it's limited. I mean, that whole fortress was created out of a single crystal that Superman carried with him in his pod. I think that crystal is very limited in what it can do and what it can provide. Yeah, it built the fortress. Yeah, there's his mom, Laura's there, and she's able to do some things, but I just feel like it's maybe limited in what it can do and what it can offer. Like fully recreating a fake heart. I don't know, but obviously human technology would not be good enough to help Superman, so yeah, I don't know.
True.
What was his third point? Those are the only two I can...
Oh, just about Jordan being
young
and confronting Luthor.
Well, what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I kind of agree with that assessment. He's young and easily intimidated, and he was not thinking ahead. You know what I mean? He was just like, oh, if I show up and I have powers and I threaten him, he'll surely cave. And that was not the case, so...
Yeah, and two, like, he has flown willing participants, but probably not somebody who was unwilling. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about somebody that's going to struggle, and I mean, Lex is not superhuman, but like, think about like carrying a toddler who does not want to be held and like flapping arms and everything, and you're like trying to fly with somebody trying to do that,
Yeah.
I can attest to this.
Yeah.
I can attest to this. It is almost humanly impossible to carry someone who willingly does not want to be carried. And
now he could knock him out, like he.
True.
I mean,
I can't do that to my toddler.
Yeah, no, but like he could. But anyway, I don't know.
I mean, his argument is that why would they like, oh, Jordan's just young and immature and didn't know what to do, so that's just dumb writing, and there's so much better storylines they could have taken. But at the same time, sure, he could have flown him to the fortress. They could have put him in chains and shackles and interrogated him until they give him. But then there goes the end of the show. That you take everything, you take Luthor's reputation away from him by making him so easily defeated by like that. Like that would just ruin the history of who Lex Luthor is. You can't make it so simple, and it kind of would erase the purpose of this season of us learning why Luthor is so bad if they just right away in the first episode take him to the fortress and torture him until he gives them all the information they need. Like, it's just kind of... I just don't think that would be good story writing for the show itself. But I understand the frustration of, Jordan could have done better, but, you don't want to hear us say, yeah, he's young and immature. Luthor just recognized it. Luthor recognized that there's, and that shows the smarts and the bravery of Luthor, that he can acknowledge that and then use it to his advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think he called Jordan's bluff, plain and simple. So.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, but good from hearing from you again. That's going to lead us right into our ratings of the show. And I'm suddenly lost on my board. Oh, yeah, I moved everything down. Whoops.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
All right, so I give this one 9.75 Heart of a Hero. they are not holding back in any way this season, and I'm here for it. They're making every episode count and every minute count. With our guest cast, we know their time is precious and they know it. And I'm so glad they're honoring each person on the cast. This was a powerful episode, and we get to see Sam go through his relationship with Clark and Lois and why he had reservations. Seeing him literally give his heart for Clark. And Dylan Walsh brought his A game tonight. Plus, it was great to see John Henry and Nat back. I know that the budget from the CW made things harder and they couldn't bring in Jenna Dewan as Lucy, but my only real complaint is she's not even mentioned by Sam or Lois. At the end, like he's talking to Lois but never mentions Lucy, and she doesn't they could have just wrote it away with a line to say, hey, listen, she couldn't whatever.
Yeah.
But that was my one nitpick. But a little fun fact about this episode is Bitsy's husband directed this episode, her Grimm co-star, and I have no clue how to pronounce his last name. David
Giuntoli.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds good. But it was really cool seeing she did a kind of Instagram and other social media takeover on Monday before the episode, and so she had some photos of him on set directing and their daughter on set and different things like that. So it was a lot of fun. It was a family affair. So,
and with what she did in this episode, I can't imagine your husband getting to witness that. Amazing stuff. And you're talking about the Lucy actress. I mean, she is busy over on The Rookie with Nathan Fillion. She is now his wife, and they're trying to have a baby. She's a full-time character over there now, so she maybe just wasn't even available anyway, because they're busy filming the next season right now. So yeah. So you're fans of Lucy? Go check her out on The Rookie. She's Nathan Fillion's wife now. She's a paramedic, and she's pretty awesome on there.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right, Harley.
All right, I gave this one 9.75 ways to keep Tyler in the show. So I made my rating a little tongue-in-cheek since it turned out to be kind of a heavy episode with lots of tears. So I really did love how they used the flashbacks to kind of keep Tyler in scenes and keep him in the show, basically. And I thought Dylan Walsh, he did such a great job with Sam's scenes, like both the flashbacks to kind of the original version of his character, and then like the current version, who is a little bit more caring. He's a little bit more family oriented. So at the end of the day, it was really tough to see him go. But I think they did a really great job with kind of honoring his character. Felt like they brought his arc full circle and giving these scenes that kind of the due that they deserved. Like nothing felt rushed. It felt very well put together and very well thought out. So at first, at the beginning of this episode, I kind of thought that the flashbacks were kind of honestly really just there to keep Tyler in the show. But then slowly it kind of started to dawn on me that these flashbacks were really the swan song for Sam Lane. So absolutely well done by the whole Superman and Lois team. So kudos to them.
Yep. I don't think there's enough praise for the show. I am giving this one a 10, as good as it gets. That's right. A perfect episode. You don't get any better writing or performances than what this show just delivered. It was hands down the best superhero TV I have ever seen. It even beats some of the finales of the other CW superhero shows. And this is just episode 3, so I can only imagine what else is coming. This one is just spectacular in every single way. I cannot gush enough about Bitsy and what she is doing here. I can't give Dylan Walsh enough praise for the emotion he brought from a usually stoic military role. And I can't high-five Michael Bishop enough for his breakout blow-the-roof-off performance of young Jonathan coming of age with his powers. I'm truly left speechless and full of emotions after this one. It's simply wow. I'm going to be gushing all through tonight's discussion because this blew me away. This was perfect TV, in my opinion. Let's dive in to our talking points for the show, and we're going to be kicking it off with a clip. The show's going to run a little differently tonight. We're definitely going to be setting this show off in the sunset with as much spectacularness as we can. So there's going to be some sound clips throughout our discussion tonight just to really bring this thing home. So we're going to dive into those talking points right now.
Can you ever truly explain how much a person meant to you? Is it even possible? All the love that you felt. All the memories you shared. As much as I might try, I don't think words will ever be enough.
And we're all crying.
Oh boy.
The music started and the tears just started. I mean,
Yep.
Yep.
So now that I can't form words, I'm going to attempt to talk in this discussion. Oh my goodness, what a way to open this. I mean, we see where a lot of the trailer comes from with these opening scenes. I mean, they pulled a ton of stuff directly from this episode. The funeral in the beginning, it does end up being bookended at the end with another funeral, which I didn't see coming. Like, I mean, even, watching the trailers, I don't think I ever would have put this together. I felt it was very beautifully written, very beautifully acted, both the beginning and the end, which of course we'll come back and talk about some more, but very well done.
Like you said, X-Force, right off the bat, seconds in, I am already crying. The music, the beats, Bitsy, the boys, my heart can barely take all of this. Like, right off the bat, I'm like, oh my God, what are they going to do with this show? Because it's killing me already. And that, like you said, that backyard funeral, I have a feeling, and I might be wrong, listening to what Bitsy is saying, it sounds like she's talking about Clark here. But I feel like the funeral at the beginning, the funeral at the end is actually the same one. And they're doing that TV show trick where they show us the ending, and then they jump into the episode and they show us how they got to that ending, and then it catches up to itself at the end. That's the feeling I got. I think it's supposed to be the same funeral because we only see Sam Lane's stone in the end. So I think they're both the same, but I don't...
The big thing is the final scene. The boys have on the fishing shirts that Sam gave them, and in the beginning scene, they've got more traditional.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
So yeah.
I thought it was all. I thought we only saw them from the back in the opening scene here, and I forgot. Okay, cool. Then forget.
Yeah, we do see them getting ready, and we see when we pan to Jordan's closet, we see the Hawaiian shirt sort of like still hanging in his closet in the beginning. So I do think that the beginning was the three of them, their private funeral, their private goodbye to Clark, because the world doesn't really know about him, although if he doesn't really start coming back around, they might have some explaining to do. And then at the end, there were some subtle differences, kind of between the two. But I loved the way that they tried to make them feel like as if they were the same. I mean, like the language, the things that she said, like everything about it it was incredibly well done.
Give that woman an Oscar already. Like that. I have never seen a performance out of someone like this.
So, I'm watching The Penguin. And that's Sunday nights, and Kristen Milioti, who's playing Sophia Falcone, is killing that. And then on Monday nights, you've got Bitsy. And so, like, 2 nights in a row, DC is just killing it with their acting. And I'm just like, okay, give them all the awards.
Yeah.
One's a limited series, one's a regular series. They can have 2 different awards. Let's go for it.
I can only hope and pray for them because Superman and Lois finally got recognized a little bit in the last award show. So maybe this final season, now that eyeballs are on them, maybe they'll look a little closer at it. Because usually superhero TV, they're just like, whatever, not part of it. It's not serious enough for awards, right?
Yeah,
I know, but the show is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Deserves it.
Yeah.
Oh, so bummed this is our last season. Okay, not dwelling on that.
Yeah, we'll be crying in 7 more episodes for sure.
I know. So I've collected together a series of scenes that I've entitled "The Death of Superman." So we're going to kind of roll through some of these that I felt were the most related to this topic. And so we go from the funeral to Lois publishing this article announcing a world without Superman. And John kind of rushes in. He's really not taking it well. And for the first time since we switched actors, I really felt that John's character, as Michael portrayed him, was very much like the original version that we had with Jordan Elsas. And so I liked that Michael's been able to bring his own take on the character, but I also liked that we got enough of that, like, feeling back into it that I could see the two of them, like, tied together as if it was just one continuous person.
Yeah, I mean, I know she had to publish the article, and it's good that the world, sees that it was great to have Superman. It's nice to have, but they're going to have to move on without him, so she had to help them walk in that reality, but it was just hard. I mean, it's hard for her, but hard for the boys because it's like okay, this is final, so...
Yeah, and I agreed with her that it has to be her that reveals it to the world before anybody else. And to her point that it was Superman that she's writing about, not Clark Kent. I agree with her there, but I because they didn't really say. I wonder how they were going to explain Clark's disappearance as well, because they never brought that up. What are you going to do, like Smallville? They did Daily Planet. Everyone's going to be like, "Where's Clark? What happened to him?"
Yeah.
So.
And why are you all so sad?
Yeah, exactly.
And as to John, I like both actors in the role. And, it's got to be hard for Michael because he's got to honor Jordan's work and then make the transition feel natural, but then make the character his own as well. And make it look like character progression and growth for himself. And I think he's doing a very good job at it. So hard thing to do, but I think he's doing a good job at it. And this episode just kind of highlights, what he's been doing over the last, few episodes. So.
Well, and I remember us discussing it because Jordan's version of him, he was a little bit more of a rebellious type of kid, going against the teacher and like he just had a little bit more of an edge to him, where this Jonathan, since he's taken it over, he's never really had that bad boy, best football player in the school type of mentality. Like he seems to be a lot more subdued and like he learned all of his lessons already. I don't know. There was that difference we talked about, but for me, this John is the John that they should have started with. I wish they found this actor first. He looks the part of the family. He's got the hair, the eyes, the eyebrows, all the features that makes it like him and Jordan actually look like brothers. Whereas the other John, they didn't look related at all. Like he looked like he was adopted. He had curly blonde hair, bright blue eyes. Like it didn't make sense. Why did you cast this guy? He doesn't look like the family. This guy looks like one of the Kents. And I was immediately happy with him right from the start. It just took him a little bit to warm into the role and get good at the part. But after this episode, I mean, that's where I agree with you, Arlie. Just holy crap. I just wish they had started with this guy, because then we could have been used to him for 4 seasons and, really connected to him. But after this episode, I'm feeling, man, this kid is way better than the original. I'm sorry to say. but not because he's better.
He's doing a really great job. I do like it. I just every once in a while I do remember I was like, oh, you're slightly different, but not in a bad way. So he's doing a great job. I agree. And he actually finally gets the payoff we've all been wondering about, debating about, hoping for, and thinking we were never going to get. He finally gets powers in this final season. Jordan is not happy about it, and he is doubting his own abilities through all of this, which is really fascinating to see the differences between the two brothers. John's powers came in very quickly. He seems to naturally know how to use them, while Jordan kind of struggled with his, and they came in more slowly. So I'm wondering, like, why the difference, and what is the difference?
I'm first going to say, aha! We called it way back in season 1. Do you guys remember? Like, we were questioning if and when and how he would get powers. We stated that it's going to be an emotional, traumatic event that's going to bring them to the surface. It's just a matter of when. And then we started to question, maybe not, as the story seemed to be veering away from that. We thought, maybe not, but we did predict it and call exactly how it was going to happen. And they did it 4 seasons later. They finally, exactly, an emotional, traumatic event. And the powers broke through. So cool. God, I love that scene so much.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, like that. This kid, the acting, and we're going to talk about it, but like I said in my opening monologue, like, he blew the roof off with his performance there.
Yes, he did.
Oh.
And I think emotions are the big key to the powers.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan has been struggling with managing emotions his whole life. The fear and the desire to protect his brother brought them out when he was trying to save his brother from the pipes falling down.
Yeah.
Now, John, on the other hand, is much more even-keeled. And most of the time, he kind of lets the emotions flow over him. But the anger, the loss, and the fear combined with the pain when he was punching into the beam there in the barn just pushed him over the edge, and it caused the powers to spark. You know, he was seeing the x-rays and his hand was healing and all that good stuff. I think it was all those things combined that kind of gave him that final push.
It was a lot. Like, I mean, the emotion of losing his dad, the frustration of listening to Jordan all the time, like just everything that was going on, it was a lot for him. And we've seen Jonathan, like I just said earlier, like he's been, out of the two, he's always been the one that's composed and in control. And I think what we're realizing, what we're witnessing here, is that he bottles a lot of stuff up, and eventually, like this whole thing of his dad dying was just enough to put him over the edge. And he had to let it all out, which is what ended up happening here. But, I mean, I don't know if Jordan is so much mad about it, but he kind of knows John is the one that everybody hoped would get powers, because he's, you know, he was always the golden boy. And Jordan's going to get all depressed, and that he's not the only one. Instead of being happy for his brother, he's like, oh, man, like, you know, you could tell he was kind of wishing it was just him. Like, well, I'm the one that's supposed to have powers. Now he's going to have them. All the attention's going to be off of me, because that's what he's been doing. He's been, you know, getting in front of the camera and signing autographs, and because he wants all the attention. Well, now he just lost the attention, so he's going to be jealous of his brother, and he's then struggling with it, because that's what he does.
And kind of talking about his natural abilities with the powers, it just kind of makes sense. He's always been more athletic. He spent years training in athletics. And again, I take it back. It's about emotions. Yeah, Jordan was not as athletic, and his confidence is always a challenge, and John is more confident. So I think they're tied to the emotions, so he's more, and John's more confident, but he also has that kind of athletic ability that's going to let him ease into those things. So I think it's a combination of the two.
Yeah, well, and like I said, John is the golden boy. He always has been. And like you said, the confidence. He's strong, and he's got his crap together. Like, he just always has. So, of course, things are going to come easy to him. He's been the star athlete, the star pupil, the star everything. He's the golden boy. Of course, it's going to come much easier to him. I mean, if you remember, in every iteration that we saw Clark get his powers, he instantly was good at them. So he's taking after his dad. You know, so...
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm going to say it again. That was simply amazing. What a performance. The anger, the pain, the anguish, the lashing out. And when he gets his powers, the complete shock on his face and his reaction to it. And especially when the cold breath comes out, his reaction to that, like, you swear that he actually breathed that cold breath. I don't know how an actor reacts to something like that that's not even there. That this kid was leaps and bounds the better actor of the two, I'm sorry to say, but this just blew my socks off. And he way better than the original. I really, really wish we had this guy for all 4 seasons. This kid is amazing. I had no idea he had this in him.
Yeah, no, he's definitely doing great. I've very much enjoyed his performance. This scene especially. So.
Yeah, like when that cold breath came out, and he's like looking at like, what the hell? What was that? I mean, it was so pure and raw. Just, gosh,
it was. All right, so I am going to move us on to talk about the flashbacks a little bit. So the first flashback we get is a scene with Lois and Clark essentially coming clean to Sam, and I thought this was incredibly cute. It kind of felt like they were still on the fence about telling him, which made for a really fun back and forth, which I found absolutely adorable. And the moment when, Tyler takes off the glasses and you have the Superman theme playing in the background, and it was so fantastic. Like, I love the reveal, the way it was shot. It was like slowed down a little bit, and it was so good.
It's so good that we're going to hear it again right now.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Pumpkin. Ever since that alien showed up, things around here have been rowdier than a $10 rodeo.
Well, actually, sir, that's why we're here, to discuss Superman.
Thought you were here on boyfriend duty, not cub reporting.
Well, actually...
There's something Clark and I want to tell you about Superman.
Feel obligated to share, really.
You find out where he's from?
You're never gonna believe it. Smallville.
Smallville? Isn't that where you grew up?
Yes, sir, it is.
Did you know him?
You could say that.
Something I'm not getting here.
Sir, I'm him. Superman. I'm me. We're the same person.
No offense, son, but... Come on.
Okay,
Ta-da. I'll be damned.
Oh my God.
I think that's my favorite part of the whole scene. Ta-da!
Ta-da! I loved all the flashbacks, but this one was so fun, like you said, and them trying to get to Sam was just, adorable. And the transition worked for me. And it's like when he took off the glasses, he laid aside Clark.
Yes.
It's a good way to put it.
And
you could see it come over his face.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it would have been nice to have him, have his suit for the reveal. but it just proves that he doesn't need the suit to make him Superman. And I just loved it. Loved that Dan Romer, who's the composer for the series, adding in the music cue and the lens flares. Yeah, it was just perfect. It was so perfect.
Just everything about it. Like, Tyler is absolutely perfect as a nervous, goofy Clark. Like, for me, he's the best version that we've ever had. I want him to be the Superman going forward. While this show is on, I have no interest in the new movie at all. Tyler is my Superman now. He just is. This guy is the one that should be in the movies. He's the one that should be in 10 seasons of the show. He's my Superman. I don't care. I don't care about anybody else. He's the one for me. And that moment that he stands up to reveal, and the look on Sam's face, and the music and the shining lights, the whole cinematography of it, it was perfection, as you guys said. Like, that, just that moment alone should deserve some type of award, because we never get to see a reveal like that. I don't think we've ever seen him reveal himself to Sam before. So the whole moment was so cool. It was such an experience for us to get to witness that. Just that transition was simply magical. And like you guys said, he shedded Clark. You could just see Clark wash away, and Superman was there. And the way Sam reacted to it, it was washing away for him, because he's like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like, you've been here all along, and it was perfect. The whole thing was just perfect. It was beautiful.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next flashback. And this one took me a bit by surprise, because Clark is asking Sam for permission to marry Lois. And I did not expect that Sam was going to be so against this marriage. So against it. I was very surprised by this.
Yeah.
Like, I understand his reasons, sure. But at the same time, like, you can't realistically protect your kids from everything. I understand that you want to, but there's a lot of things that are going to just end up being so far outside your control that there's kind of nothing you can do about it. Obviously, like, in the end, he kind of came around, but this was just such a surprising reveal for me. But he was so against it from the beginning. I just was not expecting that. And, you know, of course, Tyler is absolutely adorable as Clark. I love him. I love how he plays this character. He just nails it every time. So.
That he does.
General, do you have a minute?
Close that door, will you?
Yeah.
I've been hoping you'd drop by.
Oh.
You finally ready to talk about working for the D.O.D?
Actually, I'm still thinking that over.
And why are you here?
Sir, I'd like to formally ask you for Lois's hand in marriage.
Damn it, son. It's a terrible idea.
Sir, I'm in love with your daughter. I want to spend the rest of my life with her.
Then you need to remedy that. Because married life isn't in the cards for you.
General.
You and I are this world's last line of defense. We don't get to sign up for the Friends and Family program.
With all due respect, sir, you're wrong. I need Lois.
It'll fade. Love always does.
Yeah, but I do love her.
So do I. More than you will ever understand. And I would do anything to protect Lois.
As would I.
If that were true, you'd walk away. Lois doesn't deserve this kind of life. She went through hell already with her mother.
I will never leave her.
Not intentionally. But you don't know what's out there. The evil that's coming for you. You may not have faced much of a threat yet, but believe me, you will. And when that day comes, the worst case scenario happens. She's the one who's going to feel that pain for the rest of her life.
I came here to ask for your blessing, but I want to be clear. I do intend to marry your daughter.
Then why even bother asking?
Because I'd like for you to be a part of our family.
Well, you do what you have to, son. You know where I stand.
Wow. This surprised me, but honestly, Sam is in such a spot here. How can he be the handler for this hero, sending him into action, which will probably put his life and put his family at risk? And then he also wants to protect Lois from what he went through. And we heard, it's so, such a hard spot to be in. And honestly, way back when we heard that Dylan was coming back, they said, listen, we're going to make it worth your while to come back. And you look at how he shines in this ep, it just shows you that they really wanted to give him meat. And this adds this scene adds that aspect that we haven't seen and we didn't expect, and he just runs with it.
We're getting to, like, these flashbacks, like we said, what they did with Arrow, these flashbacks are giving so much depth to the show and these characters and the history that we didn't get to witness because the show started 20 years after the normal Superman story that we know. Now we're getting to go back and see how this show would have told those stories. And it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I have to agree here. I have to say, Sam really wasn't wrong there. Being Superman brings all kinds of danger into Lois's life and all kinds of worries similar to the wife of a policeman or a fireman would have. But it's times 1,000 because it's Superman. And yeah, he's most likely pulling from his own life experience with his wife because she was married to him being in the military. So he's kind of drawing on that. That's why he's giving Clark crap about it. Plus, Sam here, if you listen to his words, he totally predicts the future. You don't know what's out there or what's coming. Like, oh my God, he knew it all along without knowing he knew it. He saw the potential trouble that was coming their way. And the doomsday, quote unquote, that was headed towards Lois and Superman. Like, I wonder if he thought back to that, when this started happening. It was crazy. What a crazy, crazy scene to get to witness, as if we went back in time.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a little bit intentional too.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, the next one, as we're kind of going on our history trip, is we go to the wedding day where Sam actually overhears Clark speaking with his mom just before the ceremony. I'm not sure exactly what changes his mind. I'm not sure if it was what Clark says or just kind of hearing the fact that his mother was very supportive of the entire arrangement and just kind of reiterating, you're a good person, you're going to do good by her, you're going to be a great husband and all that sort of stuff. But what's important is that at the end of the day, he does sort of come around. So
honestly, I think it's both. I think he hears what Clark is saying and knows that he's told him that before, and he knows that what he told him before was not for show. Because he doesn't know, Clark doesn't know that Sam's listening. Right. So he knows that this is his true intentions. And then he hears Mama Kent, and it reminds him, what parents have to do to help their children. And it kind of says, listen, he's honest. I want the best for my daughter. She wants the best for her son. I'm going to go forward with this. So I think it's both those things.
I was going to say both, I think, as well. Hearing that Clark is exactly the same when Sam is not around shows him it's not a show. It's not I'm going to say whatever her dad needs me to say to make him happy. Mm-hmm. Clark is serious. And Mama Kent, of course, always helps, as she's the sweetest lady ever. So overhearing what Mama Kent says, it just also sunk it in. And I wanted to ask, was this the first time we saw her on the show? I can't remember ever meeting Mama Kent on the show.
In the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Was she there in the very beginning? I can't remember. Was it the same actress?
She was. That I don't know.
I'm looking now. Hang on one second.
Okay. But you guys do remember seeing her before?
she's been in 4 episodes, so this is the same actress. So.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
What a neat way to bring her back to have such a small role on the show, but yeah. Oh, did we deal with her passing away? Clark had to lose his mom in season 1?
Yes.
Yep.
Right, okay. Now I remember.
Yeah, that was very early on.
Yeah.
Oof. This is a show that's going to be rewatchable in a couple years for sure. All 4 seasons, marathon. Yep.
All right. Well, if we're ready, we can kind of dive into a few things that were more unique to Luther's storyline. So one of the first things I noted that I thought was interesting is that we get to see Doomsday is back in the subway where he was created, so to speak. And Luther and his assistant are visiting him and sort of planning on how they can get Sam, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. So, y'all talked a little bit about the assistant last episode. The assistant's, the character's name is Amanda McCoy, and I mentioned her back this summer. I can't remember if it was, which podcast we were doing, but it was in the news section that Amanda McCoy is a comic book character. She is the character who used basically a supercomputer and figured out that Superman was Clark Kent, and Lex didn't believe her. And so that, she is a comic character, and they're kind of adapting it a little bit as they do, but it is a comic character. And she's played by Yvonne Chapman, who was in the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series and the CW series Kung Fu.
Okay, she looked a little bit familiar. We just watched the Avatar not too long ago. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I wonder how she figured it out with a supercomputer. I wonder, that'd be kind of a neat story to visit. But
yeah.
I just got 2 questions. What is he feeding Doomsday to keep him satisfied? Like a cow? What's he feeding him? And then how are they keeping him under control and obeying and listening to orders? Why is Doomsday following anything? He'd be like, whatever, screw you, Lex. Squish him. Like, why is he following orders? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I have no clue.
I don't either, other than loyalty, because he's the one who made him, I guess. So, I don't know. That's
made him invincible, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the only idea that I've got.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought it was interesting that Doomsday threw a heart back at Lex in that scene. So like he threw whatever's heart back at him and it hit the glass there. It's like, oh, he's still giving him the heart.
Ooh, yeah, interesting choice there.
Yeah.
Doomsday seems to understand, though. I don't think he's completely just a dumb monster. I think there's understanding in his face that we're starting to see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that might come into play later in the season.
Possibly. All right. Well, here's at least one of the scenes I was waiting for. Luther decides to share some damaging evidence with Jordan, and he plants the seed that all of us have been thinking. John is the favorite twin.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we know Luther is like the master manipulator. He is working on the weakest link emotionally of the Kent family. Yes, John was the one she chose, but come on, he didn't have powers. But Jordan's not going to see it that way. He's going to be manipulated by this guy who, if he can get around other members of the press and the military and whatever, he's going to be able to get over on Jordan. So
for sure, Luther is hitting the weak, emotional one who can't handle anything, planting the seed that will fester into hate and anger. I'm definitely seeing Emperor Palpaluther is here. The manipulation and sinking those seeds. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we get Jordan goes ahead to confront his mother with this information, and the scene plays out exactly the way that Luther says that it will. It's exactly what we speculated last week, I think. She chooses John because he has no powers to protect himself, even though Jordan actually was the one in immediate danger. But of course, as she says, she couldn't have known that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's relive that moment. It was pretty heavy.
General Lane should be in his office.
Mom?
I know where it is. Thank you. Hey.
Dude, what's wrong? Did you really choose John? Luther played me a tape. Is it true?
Jordan, it's not what you think.
Both your sons are in danger. You can only choose one, and you chose your favorite.
That's not true.
Don't lie to me. You chose him. I heard you.
Mom, what's he talking about?
Honey, there was no time. I did not know what was happening, and you were the one with powers.
Luther knew I had powers. He wasn't even in trouble. I was the one being attacked.
Sweetie, I didn't know that.
Would it have even mattered?
Of course it would have. I have always loved you both the same.
You said you'd say that.
Lex Luthor is a liar.
And you're not. You sent him to prison for a crime he didn't even commit.
Don't you ever say that to me again. Not ever. That man killed your father. Jordan, you need to understand Lex Luthor is using you to hurt me.
Right. Because I'm so weak.
Jordan.
Oh, man.
Man, yeah. I really feel like they're setting up the brother versus brother house divided dynamic that Lex wants. It's interesting because in the comics, one of the Superboy, the Superboy in Death of Superman storyline, and even in Young Justice, is a clone that uses Clark's and Lex's DNA. Now, they can't do that here, but we can have a Superboy that's being used by Lex and the other one used by the Kents, so we can have, that not necessarily an inward dynamic like, the one, especially Young Justice, where we see him kind of going back and forth, but we can have a dynamic between the two of them kind of fighting this out and being used by each side there. So
yeah. And do I have to say this one? We also called it way back. We speculated that both brothers were going to get powers and that one of them was going to go dark. We just weren't sure which one, but I think we eventually settled on Jordan because he is the emotional train wreck. We saw this coming seasons ago. We knew it all along, and we're just like, our predictions are coming true from 4 seasons ago. It's actually pretty fun. We're really getting to know the superhero TV stuff. Ha! But we were also right, Harley, last week that, of course, she chose John. He's not protected. At least Jordan would be able to withstand some torture, some whatever for a while. So she's going to choose the one that doesn't have any protection at all. It just makes sense. And like you guys said, Jordan is not going to understand that. That's not how he's going to see it because he is an emotional train wreck.
Yeah, I mean, no matter who you are, though, I do feel like that would be very tough to see or hear or whatever. Like, that would be really difficult to reconcile at that age.
Yeah, and it's not like, Luther didn't play the entire thing. He didn't play like you have to choose, that part of the call.
Yeah.
It was just the cherry-picked stuff.
Of course.
So, but, yeah.
Manipulation, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we're going to get into the final meat of the episode. Everything that happened at the D.O.D. So, I really thought that at the beginning of the episode, when Sam kind of requested the serum, that he intended to use it on Clark to bring Superman back. So I'm wondering, did he have this plan from the very beginning to kind of give his life for Clark's, or did that kind of come up in the moment a little bit? I feel like I got a little more clarity of this on a second watch, but it was still a little confusing to me.
Yeah, I agree. I thought originally that he was going to use it on Clark, but we hear Nat say that he was hoping to find a donor heart, but he didn't have time to find one, and then he had to adapt while it was dying. So yeah,
there we go. Okay.
Yeah. I have a feeling he was hoping to use it to bring Superman back somehow, because I was wondering what his plan would have been if he didn't get shot, and when that happened, he only had moments to make a decision. And I think the serum extended his life a little bit, so he could record that video and walk out to meet Doomsday. I think the serum gave him just enough strength or energy to be able to do that. It was almost like an adrenaline shot, because otherwise I think he was pretty much dying, and that's why he reached up behind his head and grabbed it off the desk. So I don't think there was any pre-planning for all that kind of stuff. I think it completely changed based on getting shot.
Gotcha. That makes sense. All right, so John Henry and Natalie are trying to decide what to do with Sam's offer. So this is, kind of before Sam gets shot. So we're going back in time a little bit. Ultimately, it's going to derail their plans for a future Metropolis, but they both seem to agree that it's the right thing to do in the moment. They've tried to have a normal life. They've experienced, quote, a normal life, but it just doesn't seem like it's in the cards for them while they can potentially save another world from being destroyed.
Yeah. They both come from a world at war. They understand the sacrifices needed to be made to save the world that they live in. And I thought it was good that they at least name-called Bruno's son Mateo and talked about her being in a relationship with him. So continuing that stuff on and making that part of the reason why she chose, to protect the world that she lives in.
So they mentioned Mateo, but not Lucy. That's what you're getting at.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it could have just been a slip. Who knows? But yeah. John Henry was feeling guilty for not joining the fight that killed Clark. I mean, he could have helped, but now for sure he knows it's their duty to step up, and that's the type of man that he always has been. There's danger out there. There's people to protect. There's a world to save. I have to step up. He will not sit idly by, and I think he's having a hard time himself looking at that footage over and over again going, I probably could have helped.
Yeah, I agree.
And another cool part about this scene is Sam gives Nat a code name. So now we officially have Steel and Starlight.
Steel and Starlight, such cool names. Sam just gave them the code names. And because did we hear Steel before? That was my question. I don't think we have gotten Steel yet. Nobody was calling him that. It was still always John Henry, wasn't it?
I can't remember, but I don't think I remember them calling him Steel. But
I don't think he got it. So why I think this is really cool is that I love that Sam is the one that gave them their hero names. It's kind of like a small bit of legacy he gets to leave behind before, he's ultimately gone. He gets to name the next two heroes. So that was pretty cool.
I agree. That was very cool. I can't remember if we'd heard them say Steel in the show, but I feel like we always referred to him as Steel because of the comics.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. We referred to him, but the show never actually gave him that name. So Sam gave it just there, which is cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I agree.
And Starlight, is she a comic book character? I've never heard of Starlight before.
I'll have to look to see because the Natalie Irons in the comics is very different than this one. Like her background and just a lot of things. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Starlight's a cool name though. I like it.
Yep.
Very cool. All right, so maybe maybe you guys can shed some light on this. I became a bit confused as to why Sam wanted to bring John Kent in and basically like put him to work. It almost sounded like why wouldn't he be doing the same thing with Jordan? Is this something that was offered and Jordan turned it down? I don't really remember that sort of being an option offered to him, and it seems like both of the brothers to me are just being treated very differently after getting their powers, which kind of goes along the lines of like John has the confidence, everything came in all at once, he's like the natural born leader, whereas like Jordan is not so much. His stuff kind of came in staged, and he's a little bit, we've been calling him an emotional train wreck, which is probably slightly rude, but they're just very different people.
I was. You don't have to take that. I'm the one saying it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you guys think about all that?
Yeah, Sam did say that he didn't want to go behind Lois's back like he did with Jordan.
True.
He didn't want to do that with John, so he wanted to be out front. And as to your thought about Jordan turning it down, maybe he did turn it down because he felt like he was a failure in losing Clark's heart, and that was, kind of the reasoning there of like I've tried to do the superhero thing, and look where it got me. It's hard because like we do bring on the emotions with Jordan, and he does deal with emotional issues, and he's been through treatment and that kind of stuff. That's been a part of his nature. And so, yeah, maybe he just said, no, I'm going to let brother take this. I just don't know. But it does seem kind of weird that they're not both out there doing it in some capacity. I just don't know.
This is what I remember. Sam was training Jordan in that basement of the barn. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Secretly training him how to fight, how to throw a punch and all that kind of stuff. And Lois got really mad because she didn't want Jordan anywhere near fighting or missions or anything. She said no to all of it at first because of his emotional problems, and he's not ready. And, and she grounded him so many times for using his powers when he's not supposed to. So I think based on all of that is kind of the answer to the question here. Well, John has always been the golden boy, and she knows that he can handle it because he's handled every other situation with maturity and smart thinking and whatever. He's been ready for this. So I think that's the difference.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll get a little bit more light shed on that, but I guess we'll just have to see as it goes on, or maybe they just ignore it and we're just left to wonder. So
Jordan's going dark. It's going to be brother against brother. That's my prediction.
I mean, it does seem like that's where they're pushing them at the current moment. So we shall see. All right. Well, Jones confronts Sam here. He's the one in the D.O.D. that's actually working for Luther, and shoots him. So we've touched on this, but now we're going to dig into it. So based on everything that follows, we assume this was obviously a fatal wound for Sam. So he injects himself with the serum, presumably to save himself. And this is where he comes up with this wild plan to save Clark that seemed very wild because it was done on the fly, because as we've discussed, it was made up on the fly. So, thoughts?
Yeah, so I was thinking when they earlier introduced John L. Jones being part of the Irons team, that this would be the introduction of John Jones, the Martian Manhunter.
I know.
But no.
That would have been good.
Yeah. But it wasn't. But like I said before, I think he had this plan to save Clark, and when it came down to it, he knew he could be the sacrifice to give Clark a heart and to kind of draw Doomsday away from doing more damage. So,
yeah, that name was a little too close to the Martian Manhunter. I wonder if they meant to be paying some kind of homage or just give wink wink to the viewers. Like, haha, we know y'all pick up on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, Luther put this plan into play early on, having his assistant go after the Johns family to hold them hostage if he doesn't work for Luther. Did you notice, though, when the assistant, I keep forgetting her name, Luther's assistant. Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
When she asked if she should go ahead with the plan, did you notice that Luther sort of hesitated giving the go-ahead? I wonder if it bothers him at all to use someone's family like that, as we see how important his own daughter is to him. Because when she said, should I go ahead with the plan, he kind of looked at her, and just the look on his face, like he thought it over for a second. Do I want to do this? Put another man's family at risk so I can get in touch with my own family. Like there was something there, and I just wonder if something will come out of that. I don't know. But as for the wound, like you were saying, Harley, yeah, it was a gut shot, and one that I don't think he survived from. He was bleeding out pretty fast. I think he got hit in just the right place in the organs that he was just gushing blood, and it was one of those things where you've got a few minutes, and that's it. You're going to bleed out. So I think when he looked up at and saw the serum on the desk behind him, in that moment he decided, because right after that, John Henry comes in and Sam says to him, do everything that I tell you. Everything that I ask, do exactly what I say. And that's where the plan took shape. I don't think he had any of this planned before, like to be sacrificed or anything. I don't think he was thinking, I'm going to sacrifice myself. I think it all came in that moment, and why he was asking John, do exactly what I say. I've got moments left here. That's it. I mean, he's the commander of the military. He thinks fast on his feet. He has to. So
yeah,
he just did that here.
Yeah, and like Jeff was saying before, like when Nat will eventually lay out the plan, and so it helps to kind of bring that full circle.
Yeah.
All right, so the next bit we have here is Doomsday shows up at the D.O.D, and he is still completely unstoppable. John Henry and Nat actually try to take him on. I think they're pretty lucky to have survived.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, or is this also? I thought for maybe that Sam was a red herring and that this would be the end of John Henry, but thankfully that was not the case. Not that I'm wishing Sam to have died, but you know what I mean. Like I love the character of John Henry, so I was like, no, don't kill him.
I seriously thought this might be John's final moments as well, when Doomsday had him by the head and was crushing the armor. That armor's damaged. He was squishing it with his hand. I thought, oh crap, we're losing John here. He gets to come back for one episode only. Whoa! So I was really concerned, but I want to say here, the effects on the show are so cinematic. The quality, such cool stuff. Did you notice when John and Nat sent those rockets, when John said, send everything you got all at once, and they both sent this flurry of rockets? Did you notice that Doomsday, when he came out of the clouds, he actually clapped the rockets in his hands, so they didn't actually hit him. He squished them in his hands before they blew up. So he doesn't actually get blown up. And I was just like, whoa, that was a cool move by Doomsday.
Yeah.
It's like, screw you, I'm not going to get hit by these things. And just like the big thunderclap in the sky and squashes them.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
Oh, wow.
It's just like,
I did not catch that.
It's like Superman holding a grenade in his hand and letting it blow up so that nobody gets hurt. That's exactly what he did. I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. Yeah, if you watch that scene again, you'll see him. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Cool.
Nice. So in the midst of all of this, we get another flashback. So I saved this one for here because it made more sense to talk about here. But we get the final flashback to Lois and Clark's wedding day. And this moment is when I knew Sam was going to die in the present day. I had, like a few doubts up until this point, but I was like, oh, okay, these flashbacks are more than just keeping Tyler in the show. This is Sam's final moment. So he finally comes around. He gives Lois his blessing, and it's a very, very touching scene. So
I'm going to play it right now for us.
I can't convince you to walk away, can I?
Dad, I am literally about to exchange my vows. I think it's time to put this idea to rest, don't you?
My concern only comes from a place of love. I just didn't want you to make the same mistakes your mother and I made.
We are nothing like you and Mom.
Stubborn, driven, career-oriented young woman marries a service-minded, dutiful, workaholic young man, it's a recipe for disaster. Believe me. Especially with kids.
We are entering this marriage with our eyes wide open.
I'm just saying. You fell in love with Clark Kent. But you're marrying Superman.
And they both make me happier than I have ever been. Please, Dad, trust me. Trust in us.
Okay, Pumpkin. I trust you. I still have reservations. I will for a long time. But I see how much you love him. I know how much he loves you. So yeah. Yes. You have my blessing.
Thanks, Daddy.
You look so beautiful. I guess it's time.
I know how scary this is for you, but it means the world to me.
I'll always be brave for you, Pumpkin. Always.
That's what I named the clip, Brave for You.
Yeah, I mean, these two scenes mirror each other. They've been mirroring all episode long, but here he's giving his emotional heart to fully love and accept this marriage, and then we get to see him giving his literal heart to save the marriage by saving Clark. So, such good stuff. Such good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Lois getting ready and Sam trying to stop the marriage, but she won't have anything to do with it, and finally getting him to give in. It's such a wonderful moment between them. These flashbacks showing us stuff that we've never seen before. It's so heartwarming. Oh my God! Like it's tugging on all the heartstrings. I have not had so many feels in an episode of TV in a long, long time. This one is just killing me in the best of ways. And just as a fun note, did you see all the medals that he is wearing? Oh my gosh! The guy's his full chest is loaded. He must be wearing a back brace to keep himself upright.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we know in present day he's a 4-star general, but yeah, wow, that's he's seen a lot of action. So
wow, yeah,
he's got a lot going on for sure.
How you guys doing with these clips all in between? It's some heavy stuff, man.
Oh yeah.
It's
good, but also struggling a little bit in some of those clips. But
I kind of like it. I kind of like this format, just playing some stuff throughout the show. It's kind of fun.
It is fun, yeah. All right, well, back to the present day. Lois and Sam share a tearful goodbye before Doomsday kills him, and this scene was just absolutely heartbreaking. And that's kind of all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, heartbreaking indeed. I mean, 2 losses for Lois and the boys in so little time. It's just, I mean, one hit after the other. So
yeah, and I'm crying already. Like, we're halfway through this episode, I've been crying. The eyes have been staying watery the whole time, and then a scene like this happens and my jaw hits the floor and the tears start rolling down because they've been pooling up in my bottom eyelid. I can't stop them. Bitsy can do heartbreak screams of pain and make you feel it right down to the bone as if you're there with her experiencing it. It's gut-wrenching to watch and so brutal. Like, just crushing Sam's head and torso like that in front of everybody. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect him to die like that at all in my own, feelings. I was not seeing that coming at all. It was shocking to say the least. And Patty Spivot is watching this show with me. She's watched all the way through. And when that moment happened, she actually let out a shocking gasp. She had no idea that was coming, and it shocked her. I was like, yeah.
I think it shocked all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, she did the same kind of shock moment when Lois first rolled Clark over and saw the hole in his chest. That's what came out of Patty Spivot beside me. I was like, yeah, it was that. Nobody saw that coming, I don't think. Not brutal like that. Just, and you heard all the bones crunch. Like, ugh. What a way to go.
Yeah, and something I didn't think about before is we were talking about Doomsday. Like, he could have easily ended the irons, but like he threw John Henry at Nat and then went to what his normal business was. So
his mission was.
So I do think there is that intelligence in there, and he is following Luther's orders. But yeah.
And to add to that, X-Force, when he first lands, Lois walks up to him and she's looking at him with like pleading eyes. She's looking at him with some type of caring concern, almost like what Superman said, what did they do to you? She's looking at Doomsday like, what has happened to you? She knows who that is underneath. And she kind of looked at him with these pleading eyes like, please, Doomsday, like, don't do whatever it is you're here to do. And Doomsday's kind of looking at her. Doomsday's, I think this is going to come around. I think this is going to be part of the story of how they stopped Doomsday eventually. There's something there that they're going to pull on, I think, but I could be wrong.
Interesting.
Yeah, trying to appeal back to Bizarro.
Yeah.
Somehow, yeah.
I can see that. All right, so we get to this point where John Henry comes and he takes Sam's body back to the fortress so that Lara can transplant his heart that has the serum in it into Clark's body. She does not think it will work, but it's the only chance they have, so they have to try.
Yeah, we will talk about this in a bit, but I wonder if she was thinking his body would reject it, or is she more concerned about his power levels? So I'm just, we'll talk more about that, but yeah, I'm wondering what the concern was.
I think I thought I heard her explaining it. She says because it's a human heart, it's not going to work. But then John Henry says it has Cal's blood in the serum that was pumping through the heart right when he died. And that's why she agrees to trying it. Because the serum had Superman's blood in it. And then Sam stuck that in him. So he was pumping part of Superman's blood through his own heart. And that's why they brought the heart back. Because it's got the genetic code in there that she can use from the blood to replicate the tissues needed to grow a new heart. I think what I'm imagining is around Sam's heart, because Sam's heart is a human heart. It won't work by itself. But if she takes Superman's blood, she's got the genetic material, she can now regrow a new heart around Sam's heart to make it Kryptonian, kind of cross with the human heart. That's the way I was seeing the science, because like I said, a human heart can't handle it, but she can regrow new organs now that she has a sample of his blood to get the genetic codes that she needs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of think that's how the science is working, and that's why Sam was like, I will be with you at all times because I will now be part of Superman. So I think that's how I was piecing it all together.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if they explain it any more than that. Maybe not.
Yeah, we'll have to see where they go with that. Well, Natalie explains the whole plan back at the farm and kind of shares Sam's final words with his family. He recorded a video, and I thought this speech was just absolutely brilliant. It was heartbreaking, and it was a really amazing way to kind of send off his character. That was very, very well done. This whole speech, I mean, especially the ending, it just brings tears to my eyes every time. So good.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, this was my favorite scene. It was a great way to close out Dylan's time on the show. It was just so good. So,
enough already, TV show. Pass the Kleenex box already. I'm crying. These scenes, these actors, it was all so perfect. There's not a show in the CW that can compare to what this one has been able to bring. It is unbelievable. It truly was a wonderful way to write his character's closing moments. It sucks that it didn't happen farther down instead of 3 episodes in, like maybe episode 8 or something, or episode 9 before the finale. Doing it only 3 episodes in, man, it sucks. But I can't agree more. It is simply the best possible way I think they could have written his story off, and allowing this actor to complete this character before he's gone.
Absolutely.
Yep. Beautiful. Yep.
I mean, so we kind of roll from this right into Sam's funeral scene. This is, we talked about this at the beginning, but I like that this complements the scene from the opening of the episode, and it's just the way that it bookends with the funerals in both the beginning and the end. It kind of brings all together with this episode with the voiceover, and I thought it was very beautiful the way that they did it, and the way that both funerals seemed so similar and so familiar yet different enough that we could kind of see that they were, in my opinion, for 2 different people. Yeah. So it's well done.
Yeah. It was so touching, and like I mentioned earlier, I love the fact that the boys were both wearing the fishing / Hawaiian shirts that Sam had given them. So
yes,
and Bitsy is just amazing. Like even just giving a eulogy at the funeral, like she's, gosh,
I know
she can deliver lines with so much heart and so much emotion, and she's just I never knew this actress before she joined the CW universe here. I had no idea where she came from, who she was. The first time I've ever seen her. I'm totally a fan now.
Yeah, me too. I never really watched Grimm, but
me neither. So,
huge fan of her work on this show. So
yeah, definitely.
And like I said last week, X-Force, I really want her and Tyler to get into some other project together, like a TV movie or a big screen movie.
That would be fun.
Like just something, playing different characters.
Just anything.
But I'm watching Murder in a Small Town, and it's got Christian Kirk in it, and this week's episode had her and Erica Durance in it.
Oh no, really?
Yes. Yeah. And so you had Lana and Lois in the same episode, and they were like best friends and that kind of stuff. So this would be so cool to see, Tyler and Bitsy in an episode, and something mentioned about being super or something like that. Something little little thing like that would be such a fun little thing.
It would be so fun, but like I was talking about, like they have so much good chemistry together. They have to work together again. 4 or 5 years from now or something, just get into a movie, one of those Hallmark Christmas specials or something. I don't care. It would be the best Hallmark movie ever. Like there's something special between these two. There really is. So.
It would be one I might actually watch.
Yeah.
Totally not my thing, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so let's close out the final little tag at the very end of this episode. Clark opens his eyes. So what happens next? Is this really Superman? Can he survive with a human heart? Did the serum change him? What will happen ultimately?
This and more on the next episode of Superman and Lois.
You sound totally like an announcer there. Yeah.
Totally what I was going for. Thank you.
Yeah, I wonder if his power levels will take longer to come back. If the powers are even going to be the same, will he have to allow the boys to help? To help because he's not as quote unquote super as before. It raises a ton of questions.
It does.
I think it should be him. The way he woke up, it seemed like Clark to me. Not some messed up monster version of him, I don't think. We've already seen that. I feel like they're doing the revival differently than what we've seen before. So I have a feeling he's going to wake up, he's going to heal, he's going to be a little disoriented, but it's going to be him. I don't think they have enough time to make him wake up and be the dark Superman that we saw in the Justice League movie or any other iteration that we know of the story. I feel like it's going to be him. They're going to change this whole story a little bit so that it's something new, because they've been doing everything their own way, their own version that we've seen so far, all 4 seasons. So I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. And I honestly think that the serum has nothing to do with anything. I think it was just the carrier for his own blood so they could regrow the new heart with Sam's as the donor. Heart, as I already tried to explain the science, I think the serum was just the carrier. It had Clark's own blood in it, which they needed to get the genetic material to continue on with the surgery. So hopefully they explain it through Lara next episode, because he wakes up. So is John still standing there when he wakes up? Is Lara there? Is she going to message everybody, hey, come to the fortress? He's awake. But Harley, if you remember, I predicted this last week. I said episode 5 he'll be back. That prediction came early. He's back episode 4. He's already back.
We shall see.
Yes.
We shall see.
Well, I mean, like Superman, Tyler Hoechlin getting to be in the show again. He's back 1 episode earlier than I thought he would be. So, yeah. I just say that because when he woke up, he didn't wake up and go, "Rah!" and was like all monstrous or acting weird. He woke up with a, and it felt to me like that's our Clark. But we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Well done either way.
The entire episode, from the opening seconds to the last seconds, like you said, Jeff, they're making every minute count on the show. Every single moment of screen time is counting. It's... Oh, and I forgot, I wanted to throw in the notes here. Last week, I was expressing episode 2, I was expressing concern that the pacing might be too fast. And this episode wiped that worry away. This did not feel rushed or fast or anything. I gave it a 10. It was perfect. So
good.
Hopefully they stay on this course. But that is it for our excellent discussion, guys, of this perfect episode. We're going to pause for our ad break, and we'll be right back with actual favorite scenes, even though my favorite scenes were playing throughout the episode.
Shape of an eagle!
All right. Take us all the way back, Harley.
All right. I chose the scene, It Must Be Destiny.
Mom! You published the article about Dad dying?
About Superman dying. The world needs to know. People have to understand that Superman won't be there to save them anymore.
Yeah, well, he would be if someone had listened.
Jonathan!
No, it's true.
Jonathan! Honey, he didn't mean that.
Yeah, he did.
I was just trying to save him. I'm so sorry.
I know, all right.
Look, you have to forgive me.
Jordan, I'm not blaming you. Just leave. Please.
You have to forgive me.
Please, will you just shut up for once in your stupid life? I'm so sick of your crap. Ever since you got powers, all you've done is bitch about how hard everything is. And you keep saying that you're trying to do what's right, but you never do. You were trying to save Dad. You were trying to be a hero. And now Dad's dead. My dad is dead. And I never get to see him again.
my that I think is in my top 3 favorite superhero scenes of all time out of all these CW shows. That was just awesome. It was awesome. It was so intense, so emotional, so just gripping. God, I love that scene. That's the best episode. That's the best favorite scene out of all of them that we have. This whole episode.
I really loved it too.
Oh.
I mean, I thought it was such a powerful scene, and I loved the acting. Like you were talking about how Michael brought it this episode, and I so agree. And this scene in particular is what I loved. Like it felt raw and real, and like I hate to admit it, but John is a little bit kind of right in what he says about Jordan. I mean, Jordan has struggled a lot since getting his powers. But he's also done a lot of complaining, and he's essentially used his powers to impress, to gain fame, to gain prestige, to kind of prove people that they were wrong about him. And I don't really like that.
Yeah. No, you're right, John. John was kind of right, and he just had enough. I mean, that outburst though. I mean, they were like nose to nose, and he's screaming at him like, "Shut up for once in your life!"
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the performance by this kid, it just kept escalating, and the emotion was coming out, and it was getting bigger and bigger. It blew the roof off. I cannot believe this kid pulled this out of nowhere. We hadn't seen anything like this from him. Oh my God.
But, I wonder, it makes me wonder if John is upset at Jordan about how he's using the powers, and he's thinking back to Bizarro John, and how Bizarro John was all about the fame, and he was all about the, all that kind of stuff. And he's looking at that and thinking about this other version of myself, and then looking at his brother and seeing him going there as well. So, yeah, it was a powerful, powerful scene.
So powerful. I want to ask you guys, did you see that coming at all? Like, I had no idea they were going here, giving John powers in this final season. Did that scene kind of just make you go, holy crap, they're doing it?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Yeah, I wondered if they were going to give him powers this season, but I thought it was going to be like a last ditch thing, like that they're fighting Doomsday, and it's 2 against 1, and they need more help, and something happens. But I didn't see it happening like this or this early. No.
Well, I think we discussed last season. We thought that now that they have the new fortress, they're going to build him a supersuit. Like with John Henry's help, he's going to get a supersuit or something. That's what I thought. Well,
I mean, back when they made the fortress, Clark talked about Laura having some stuff to maybe help him.
Yeah.
And we were thinking like it was like a Kryptonian suit or whatever. We talked about it then, but that kind of, nothing happened with that over last season. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was completely shocked. I was gasping with surprise and like excitement. First you're blown away by him losing it, and then for that moment, the transition and the music and the way he rises up, like it just, my jaw was on the ground, and I'm just not taking a breath. It was such a well done scene. One of the best things I've ever seen. So cool. Which kind of makes my scene that I left for, because I've been playing them all throughout the episode. This one just doesn't live up to snuff to what we just listened to at all, but it is called Time to Shine, and this is shortly after when John and Lois are having a heart-to-heart about him having powers and what he wants to do with them, and her thinking that they've made mistakes as parents before with Jordan, and they want to do right. So it kind of plays off of your scene, Harley, which is why I ended up using it for this one here.
What are you doing?
This is insane. How things look, How they sound, how they smell, it's so intense.
Careful, that one can backfire on you. Your father hated Limburger cheese. Have a seat, honey.
What did Grandpa say?
There was never any doubt. He's always had a soft spot for you.
Probably because of football.
It's more than that.
Okay, so what do you think?
What I think is that your father and I made a lot of mistakes when it came to you boys and powers. We should have told you years ago who your father really was. Taught you about your heritage and prepped you for what to expect if your powers manifested. There's so many things I would have done differently.
Doesn't every parent say that at some point?
Probably, but it doesn't make me worry any less.
I'm not asking for some superhero suit and to instantly be who Dad was. I got a lot to learn. And I want to learn it. But being able to do what I can now, if I can save one family from losing someone they love like we lost Dad, then I have to.
Okay.
Really?
I'll tell your grandfather we're coming. Go get your stuff.
Okay.
I find it funny that he didn't use super speed to get out of there.
I thought so.
Yeah, I
your
thought
stuff.
that too.
But I did go with this one because I love that it shows Jonathan like how mature he is. He's already learned his hard lessons, screwing up the football, program and the other things, and his girlfriend being selling drugs. Like, he's gone through his hardships already. His character has grown where he has matured, and I love that this scene really kind of highlights that, and that's kind of why I went with this one.
Good stuff.
I thought it was a good scene too.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes X-Force to break us all down.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one is Sam Says Goodbye.
Where's the tissue?
He made this for you. Right before.
Hey, Pumpkin. Sorry to be so rushed here, but looks like my time's about to run out, and before that happens, I wanted to tell you, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. I was closed off, and set in my ways, and you and Clark, you insisted on making me part of your family. And that has been the greatest joy of my life. Those boys and that, I can't put into words how much I love them. And you. You have always been my North Star. You made me a better man. You made me a dad. I'm so proud to be your father.
How much time, Sam? It's almost here.
Clark, he once told me he'd always be there for you, and I didn't get it then. I do now. He's gonna come back. Once they get my heart inside him, I'll be there too. For every beat. Every single beat.
Dad? Be right there.
I guess, I guess this is goodbye for now. I love you, Pumpkin. More than you could possibly know.
I love you. Can you ever truly explain how much a person meant to you? Is it even possible? All the love that you felt. All the memories that you shared. As much as I may try, I don't think words will ever be enough. But I do know there is no one else in the world I would have wanted as my dad. I love you, Dad. You were always my hero.
I think we need another ad break.
Dag.
Thanks, Jeff.
I mean, I love it. It was touching, a very touching way for him to say goodbye to Lois and his grandkids, all three. Yeah. And, it was just perfect. Minus one thing. No mention of Lucy. Like, he has 2 daughters. I know the focus, but but anyway, I loved it. I trust if, the writers really could have added that in some way, but it was just so good. I mean, Dylan just knocked it out of the park, so.
I mean, he's saying goodbye to his daughter and his grandkids, so there's the emotion there. He's also dying from a gunshot wound, so he's incorporating that. Like, I don't know where this guy pulls his performance from, because he's pretending to be shot and dying and being emotional and crying about having to say goodbye. Like, throw this man an Oscar, too. It just was, bury him with it. It brought a tear to my eyes. I had to look. I'm just looking down, okay. Hold it together. The performances this episode is just and we got 7 more to go. I don't know what they're gonna do. I'm gonna have trouble.
Well, I will tell you, next week looks like a different tone, so we'll have a little bit of a break. So
okay,
all righty.
Good.
Well, on that note, we are going to remind everybody about our Patreon page, and that is how you can support the show and support excellent productions throughout the network and stuff like that. So go to Patreon by following this clip.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
Don't hide all night and day and wish that you could have your say. The time is now for you to take the floor. Top up your drink and find your nerve. Get the attention that you deserve. But keep it quick, we've no patience for a bore.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your chance to step up into the spotlight and tell us what you think. Here they are, ready to listen to your feedback or show you the door. The Flash, Harley Quinn, and X-Force 11.
All right, I had to play that one. We haven't heard that one in a while. It is feedback time, and we have got a couple voicemails. And we're going to kick it off with one from Dad L.
Hello, Super Fam. Dad L here. Wow, that episode was a lot. My favorite thing so far this season, far and above all others, is Luther's relentlessness. He is pure evil. There are no holds barred. And as soon as I saw this episode was going to be General Lane focused, I knew he would end, and that Luther would be behind it. And we have to see that, to see Luther's viciousness, that he is just out for pure evil revenge. And he's proving to be a fantastic villain, but the price, of course, is high. I did like the switcheroo at the beginning, of course, thinking that it was Clark's funeral, but it turned out to be General Lane's. A few comments on the brothers. Man, Jonathan got his powers really quick. That all happened just a little too quick for me. I know that at the end it was a plot device to try to drive a wedge between the brothers and the family, but it was there to draw out that contrast. But I just think it was too quick. He gets his powers, and then he's flying, and he's on to training and forming a team around him. But I did like how his emotions activated his powers. That's keeping with some previous Superman mythos. And Jordan, too, I was surprised how quickly he turned on his mother. And she had to remind him that Luther killed his father. And then at the end, it seemed to be pretty much patched up very quickly. So just some of the brothers' things I didn't like there. But I did thought the performances were fantastic. I think General Lane's plan, his sacrifice, was fantastic. The flashbacks were also well done. So now Superman is drawing breath again, thanks to General Lane's sacrifice. I wondered how long he would stay dead. We needed to feel the weight of it. But now it seems that we'll just be feeling the weight of General Lane's death instead. So I'm going to give this episode 8.5 heart transplants. Dead Al, less Father of Krypton.
Yeah, well, hopefully the way we talked about makes you feel a little bit better about Jonathan getting his powers, because I didn't, based on just who he is and what his character's been all season, to me it makes sense why everything happened the way it did and how fast it went, for sure. Yeah, but we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Dad L. Next up is Perry White.
Hey, fam of Steel. Perry here to talk about Always Be My Hero. The Death of Superman story is sort of a tricky story to navigate, right? Because nothing's going to top the freaking shock of the first time this story was told. And, I'd be really interested to know how many people are sort of coming to Superman and Lois, and this is the first time, their first iteration of the Death of Superman story. But quite honestly, it's sort of a thing that's sort of in the popular culture. It's in the zeitgeist. So even if you don't really know anything about the comics or Superman, the Death of Superman story is sort of like the kind of thing that's sort of as prevalent as air, right? So you lose that shock value. But the best thing about this show is it doesn't rely on the shock value to tell the Death of Superman story. It relies on the impact that Superman's death has on Lois and the boys, who are experiencing it in the universe for the first time, right? And Elizabeth Tulloch, Michael Bishop, and Alex Carfin, they've been freaking fantastic, man. It's been raw, it's been emotional, it's just been freaking award-winning to a degree, right? So you lose the absolute shock value, at least I thought I would have, but that changed with Always Be My Hero because of the Sam Lane twist. Honestly, through 4 seasons, this show has done shock and awe and surprises better than any other Arrowverse show ever, in my opinion.
Yep.
Using that first scene as a fake out only to reveal that Sam died was a masterstroke. Sam's death was heroic and shocking, and it left me shaken in a way that Superman expected death never could. That's brilliant storytelling and a fantastic use of a narrative device. Obviously, this wasn't the only shock in this episode. We have our freaking true Superboy with Jonathan. I'll be honest, I suspect, obviously, if this show was going to go 7 seasons as they planned or predicted, it would have been another season or 2 before maybe Jonathan's powers manifested. Or quite honestly, maybe they would have not given him powers. I don't know. I'd be really interested if someone got a hold of the writers and the showrunners if giving Jonathan powers was always in their sort of playbook, if that was something they were always going to do. But Jonathan with powers, man, it just gives this show a new freaking narrative, and I can't freaking wait to see how this plays out between the boys. To cite Star Wars, I've got a bad feeling about this. On the bright side, though, at least our supers now have a fighting chance against Doomsday. Of course, you know, Clark with a human heart. I expect that Superman won't be the same. At least he probably won't have the same power levels, because I don't believe that a human heart, even injected with his own blood, will be able to keep up with his Kryptonian physiology. And of course, you know, all of that fallout may have to wait, because based on what I've read, our next episode is supposed to be a Chrissy and Kyle centered episode. So, full disclosure, I freaking adore Sophia Hasmeek.
Wait, what?
She's a great IG follow, and she's freaking gorgeous. So I could watch her while she's watching paint dry. But the writers, directors, and producers will have to do the freaking best job they've ever done if they can turn in a Chrissy and Kyle story worth watching in the wake of Always Be My Hero.
Yeah.
By the way, as I provide this feedback, they have yet to release an episode title for episode 4. I have to assume it's because they didn't want to spoil Superman's return. All right, here are some of my stray observations. I know Lex is brilliant, but he made a freaking phone call on a cell phone and threatened to kill a 4-star general and pretty much kidnapped a military man's family. And that message was played inside the D.O.D, which I would imagine has pretty good surveillance devices. Yeah, I know this happened inside Sam's office, but I can't believe that someone hasn't bugged that thing or has a camera. He probably has it too. I mean, aren't those the kinds of things that could get Lex sent back to prison? Here's another observation. Other than hanging out in subways, eating rats and entrails, what does Doomsday do all day? Is he just like the most powerful pet in the galaxy and just sits around waiting for his master to feed him and take him on walks?
Yeah.
Another observation. I am never an advocate of people losing their jobs or a shortened season, but the combination of these two things has allowed Superman and Lois to tell tighter stories, and I freaking dig that.
Good point.
I have another stray observation with Superman's return. However, whatever his power levels happen to be, this is obviously feels like the best shot that our super team is going to have to beat Doomsday. You're going to have Superman at whatever power levels he's at. You've got the 2 Superboys. You've got Steel and Starlight, which I think is a really cool code name for a freaking superhero. Starlight, let's go. And obviously, I also anticipate a return of Tal-Rho. So that gives them a nice, hefty team up against Doomsday. Doomsday is formidable, but I feel like with that kind of lineup, they actually have a fighting chance this time. Anyway, this is Perry White sending in this feedback from my satellite desk here at the Smallville Gazette, sitting right across from Chrissy Beppo. I can't help but love the view. I'm out.
So, Perry, they have finally released the title. It's A Perfectly Good Wedding is the title of the episode.
Oh.
And the description that they're giving us for next week's episode is the Kents struggle to adjust to their new normal. Lois helps throw Kyle and Chrissy an impromptu wedding that doesn't go as planned. And interesting, the director of that episode, this will be his 11th episode of Superman and Lois, and he should be familiar to Martin. It's Gregory Smith, who stars on Rookie Blue.
On Rookie Blue?
Yeah. So
that's different from The Rookie. That's it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I do, that's a Canadian-based rookie cop TV show, but I know it, yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so he's done multiple episodes each season. Cool. So, yeah. Cool. So they just released the episode title today.
Yeah, both of our feedbackers mentioned it, so I'm going to revisit it. They are agreeing with me that the funeral at the beginning is the same one at the end, so I revisited the opening scene, and I think we're actually right in that aspect. We see Jonathan trying to do up the tie with the black shirt, and he gets frustrated, and he starts to take the shirt off. And we see Jordan looking in the closet at the Hawaiian shirt, and then it cuts to the funeral scene where we only see them from the back. I believe that whole funeral sequence is just for Sam.
Interesting.
Because they're in the same positions they're in. Everything is the same. The only part we didn't see was that Nat and John Henry were off to the side. But I think it's the same funeral scene. It's just one, because we didn't. All we saw was Sam Lane's funeral stone. There was no Clark stone. There was nothing. It was the whole one shot thing. So I think the trick is that way is we see John going and he leaves the scene taking the shirt off, and Jordan looking at the Hawaiian shirt hanging there. So I think that leads into it.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
Interesting, but good feedback though, Perry, and some funny comments there. I had no idea you had a crush on Chrissy. Fun stuff. Well, thank you, fellas. Thanks for being part of the show, as you guys always are. For those of you out there that want to get in feedback for Superman and Lois, remember, this is the last season. You're not going to be able to talk about these guys ever again unless we do a rewatch some year. But get in feedback. Be part of the finale. This is how you do it.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to Tomorrow's Legends Podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
Well, I'm going to trust in the writers that next week is a good episode with Chrissy and Kyle, because none of us have really been liking that storyline too much. But I hope, for the character's sake, because individually I like them, I hope they get a decent write-off themselves. They get to show, because the show is bringing so much emotion and drama right now. They have to be able to do it for those characters as well. She's pregnant, they're getting married, maybe it'll be a nice moment. Disaster's obviously going to strike, and something's going to happen at their wedding. Maybe the boys have to come and save the day, and now everybody knows they have powers. Who knows? Because I can't see, would Lex do something? Would Lex attack the town when there's a wedding happening? I don't know. It's kind of, we'll have to see what they do. But
yeah, I trust them that they're going to have a good episode and a good send-off for those two. And maybe it's not necessarily in that episode, but later on. But yeah. So we'll see. And they're playing things close to the vest. They're not going to talk about everything that's going to happen in that description, especially since they wait till late to lay out the titles. So.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, awesome discussion all around. This was one of the best for sure. We'll talk to you in a week. Everyone have a good weekend. This is Flash signing off,
and this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
This is S4E03. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.